Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Learn With Me. I'm your host, Christopher, and today we are in episode 8 of our calligraphy series. You may be seeing more letters and thinking to yourself, more? But we just went through so many episodes of that. I want to move on. And I completely agree with you. However, what if you don't have a fancy calligraphy pen? Like, we've been using this parallel pen for quite a while, but I know some people must have not grabbed one of these, or a specific calligraphy pen. What if all you have is like a typical art pen, or, a regular ballpoint? What then? Well, if you still want to pursue calligraphy, there is a specific typeface called Monoline. And Monoline is a typeface where it's literally like no contrast. The thickness of your line is all the same exact thing. And if you're looking at it going, well, this kind of looks pretty darn familiar to cursive, it does, but it still adheres to the same calligraphy rules that we know and love. Your downstrokes are heavy, your upstrokes are light, and you're picking up your pen. It's not that we're doing this all in one stroke. Now there are specific outliers, like the C, where it will be in one stroke, but that'll change as we go along. So let's dive into it. As you can tell, I've kind of been trying to practice with it with varying degrees of success. I started off with actually this brush pen, which is kind of one step down in terms of what you can do with it compared to our parallel pen. But as you can see, it kind of creates almost the same effect as a regular calligraphy pen. It's going to have your thick and your thin lines. So in contrast, let's just grab our regular ballpoint and we'll draw that A out. So again, this is monoline, not cursive. So what we're going to do is our typical same exact rules. We're going to go up light, down heavy, up light, and pick up our pen. We are not following through. And then we're going to finish out our A like that. Now if you want to see the difference, we'll draw our A and we'll continue up. Slightly different. Again, it's monoline, so it's not going to make as much sense in this particular step, or it's not going to be seen differently. But continue to practice with those rules, even if it does look like cursive to you. So we're going to go up, then down, and back up again. Pick up, and draw our next line. So while you're going through these, consider those rules. Again, I hate to, beat the same drum, but it is different. And we want to make sure that we're applying those rules to make sure it's different. And if you're wondering, I'm only doing this for one particular, or for this episode. I'm not going to do like all the letters, all lowercase, uppercase, etc. So this will just be a taste of monoline if you want it. But I figured some people do only have a ballpoint and they might want to learn this particular technique to be able to translate it for when they don't have a calligraphy pen. And if you're following along in the book, we are in pages 47 through 56. Let's see here. Pick up and follow through. Pretty simple. Our C is only one. It's probably going to be the most similar to cursive out of everything. If you want it to feel more like calligraphy, hand movement or your control of the pen is going to be paramount, trying to create a different looking C. Now this is only part of it for monoline type, but in this initial stage, you want to play around with it as much as possible to find the style that works best for you. Let's move on to the D here. And again, up light, down heavy, up light, even though we aren't going to see it, still apply those rolls. We'll pick up from there, and then we'll finish by doing that. Our E is going to be the same, or at least the same as the C. All of it's going to come down to your hand control and your pen control to determine how this guy's going to look. But yeah, it's pretty simple in this regard. We can grab more of like a thin art pen, give you an idea of what that looks like. And again, very, very thin, but your control is what matters when it comes to something like this. Okay. Let's go back, grab this one. Again, ballpoints are not going to have much delineation or difference between ball pens, so your line thickness and what you achieve is probably going to look relatively the same. That being said, this isn't the only step to monoline. If we flip over to here, we see that monoline adds an extra step. It actually adds more of these lines to be able to make it look closer to calligraphy. In the book they call it a faux calligraphy, because I mean, on the one hand you are kind of faking it, but on the other, because of the techniques and design, it is a real calligraphy. So let's go up to our A, go over here. Now there's two techniques that you can do with monoline. You can first, let's draw our A out. So our first step is our A. Next we accent it by adding an extra line in each of these spots. Now pay attention here, because the goal when you're doing this extra line is to make it look like it's all one particular composition. It's all uniform. So when you're drawing these lines, it may be best, depending upon your skill with the pen, to start into your previous line, make a new line, and pull back into the old one. That way it all looks like it came from one single pen. So we'll try this again here. I think I'm going to grab this guy, because he's just a little bit thicker, so it'll be a little bit easier to see. Okay, and then bring it in. And so when I brought that tail down, hook it right into that previous line. Same with here. We're going to go up, so let's go up and quickly bring it down and bring it right back around to make it look more uniform. Again, composition wise or my line work needs a bit of work, but it starts to look more like one pen drew it versus, you know, a couple of lines like this mistake in front. Let's try it with our B here. So we'll do the micron. We'll do a really thin B. So we're gonna swing out, Bring it down, lift up, and around. And with these forms, realize too that with Monoline, because you're going to go back over it and create these extra lines, maybe make your loops larger to account for it. If you want it to be a more condensed look, then I would say keep them the same. But if you want them to look more natural, more normal, then I would probably push the whole composition of that letter out. So let's finish this out here. I'm gonna go from the bottom here and pull up and come down. Pull up, come down. The one issue with doing this over a previous line, especially with something as thin as this, is it looks like you're going to have a thicker portion of your line, or you might even create a tail. So be mindful of that when you are doing these extra lines. Again, if you have a thicker ballpoint, not going to be as noticeable, but it's just something to keep in mind. And then we'll add another flourish here, again coming from the bottom and just repeating this motion right here. Up and over. Real thin, really elegant. I might even do, let's do one back here. Yeah. This is the one thing I love about doing stuff like this, is you can just add on and create, and it's no longer a letter, it almost becomes an art form. And to me, that's where it gets exciting. It becomes really fun to do. So we get into this, and this is where Monoline essentially finishes. That being said, what if you want it to be different? So let's get into our C, and I'll kind of explain what I mean. So unfortunately, let's go back to that ballpoint, because it is a really good illustration. We're going to draw our single C like normal, up and down and up. And then we're going to add in our faux line here. Bring it in. Now I kind of missed the mark. But it, to me, still doesn't look quite as good as something like this. And that's kind of the issue I have with the thicker. It almost always, it never comes out quite right. So, although this does deviate from Monoline, if you're trying to create more of a calligraphy style, but you don't have a calligraphy pen, this is a great way to do it, because you can simply just color it in to give you the illusion that you've created a thicker line and then thinner ones. Now you're probably thinking, well, why couldn't I just do that when I was doing it originally with that first line? Well, I guess you could, but let's actually try that. Where you're coloring it in without doing that extra line. It's possible. As you can tell, I do not have the particular control to be able to do it well. But I find that you run the risk of it just not looking quite as complete as something like this. It just looks, I hate to use the word shoddy, but it doesn't look as well formed as when you do a couple of different lines and then color in the middle, essentially. So let's move on to the D here, and let's see what we can do. We can grab the top here, we'll come down, and we'll hook it back in. And bring it around and hook it back in. Now, as you can tell with the D, I wasn't really having much success here. I like the form. It's just trying to get the composition overall to look nice, to where the thickness matches the overall letter. So let's color this one in and see how I did here. Come on. There we go. I think that is starting to look way better than what I had started out with. We can do more of the art pen here with the micron. See if we can get a true monoline to look decent. Let's see here. Bring it around. Okay, that just simply needs a whole lot of work. Bring it up. Yeah, my D's really need some work. The other thing though to watch out for when you are using something as thin as this is where are your lines connecting and if they are connecting properly. I found a lot of the time when I was doing this particular motion, like with A's and D's, the top end would become disconnected. So watch out for that because that's the whole of Monoline. It's all supposed to look like it's one unified connected letter or composition. We'll try the E, and then I kind of want to move on to our uppercase because there are a couple that look really cool. So let's try with this guy here. With the E, again, it is all like the C, just one fluid motion. And we'll pull it down here. Not quite. Let's try this again. And it's really tough. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of Monoline and would rather, do it with our particular parallel pen and just create more of this look naturally. But it is also a challenge. And we can't just get comfortable with one particular style. Otherwise, how are we going to learn and grow? That's kind of the whole goal here. We're not just learning to do something just to do it. Because anyone can do that. Our goal here is to create something that we can truly be proud of. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. You'll get these little tags or extra tails that come off if you're not too careful when you're coloring it in. Alright, let's move on to uppercase here. Because I really wanted to try that Q. So let's do our ballpoint. Because I think this will look really good as a thicker line. Oop, don't come loose. Don't come loose. Okay. And where are we starting? We're starting at the top. Bringing it all the way around. Beautiful curly Q. And then we're finishing it off with these extra motions. And let me color that in here, because I think it'll look a lot better shaded. Yeah, that looks so much better shaded. Yeah, I like that. Let's do it one more time. And this time, let's grab our micron. Let's see if we can match this here. So again, we are going to follow through. So we'll come up, cut it short, and bring it back in. We'll do the same thing here. Go back, and cut it in. Because changing your thickness is going to change, or going to make it match this a lot better. Looks like I need a bit of work there, but gives you an idea. That's the other thing too, with Monoline, I believe you can do different thicknesses so long as it stays the same. Whereas this really isn't Monoline. This is more of just your quote-unquote faux calligraphy. Let's see. So let's do this. Bring it around. Bring it up. And do our monoline. But yeah, again, it's all practice. Just take some time and then you'll get it. I think I want to try. It's probably dangerous, but we'll try a brush pen and see if we can get it uniform here. Since we're trying all different kinds of pens today. Okay, and finish it out here. Yeah, brush pen is, it just has too much variation to truly create monoline. But I think it looks pretty nice though. We'll fill it in here. Nope. Give me a little bit more ink. There we go. Yeah, there we go. There's our cool faux calligraphy. Ugh. I don't know why I keep making it an F for calligraphy, but I do. It's a faux calligraphy. Alright, back to our monoline here. Go up and down. Pick up. Very important. We're doing calligraphy, not cursive. Remember to pick up. Coming back over it. Yeah, there we go. It's a little fat for my liking. I feel like it should be a little bit thinner. But you also have to keep that in mind if you're using just one pen. It is going to be, especially with a pen that's thicker like this, it is going to feel a whole lot larger in that respect. Now we could try, let's see, maybe if we go bigger here. This is a really big unruly R. Closer, I think it ultimately feels like if I made our tail here a little bit longer and a little bit more in line. Actually with that, if I had a little bit more control, that would have been a pretty good example. Making it bigger to account for it, for the line's thickness, also kind of helps. Alright, let's try an S here. I think I'm going to do, let's do 2 different pens this time. We're going to do this. Bring it around. through. And then we will try our micron. Maybe. It's there, but it's not quite there. We'll try it one more time. Bring it around. Again, the S is all one motion, not two. And we'll bring it through. That is much better. It really is all about composition with Monoline and getting everything to flow together to feel like it's all one cohesive piece. But yeah, essentially, that's Monoline. So I think we're going to call that for today. I would suggest, like me, practicing on your off chance, because Monoline does take some time to learn. But it is a good skill set to have, especially if you want to make something feel more personal, like if you're writing a letter and you don't have the tools at your disposal. It is really great to be able to up something. So next week, we're going to move on from this and we're going to combine letters. So we're finally going to start getting into words and playing with composition and all that stuff. So I'm really excited, and I really hope to see you in that next one. But until then, cheers and God bless.